Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our video panel discussion, Project Estimating, a Critical Factor in Driving Higher Profitability for Professional Services Companies. This panel will consist of representatives from Aberdeen Strategy and Research, SAP, Twenty5, and Delaware Consulting. Before we get started, a few reminders. You can submit your questions at any time using the Q&A section on your screen. They'll queue up on our side and we'll answer as many as we can before we're done. Also, you will be able to view this on demand at any time using a link that will go out to you after today. Joining us today will be Nate Joseph, Professional Services IBU at SAP, Magnus Bjørndal and Richard Minnie, founders of Twenty5, Win Baum, Managing Director North America at Delaware Consulting, and Brian Ball, Vice President and Group Director, ERP Supply Chain, GSM, and Finance Practices at Aberdeen. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Brian.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Just to, first of all, welcome to our audience and also to our panel. Happy to have you here today. But before we jump in, just a few things to set the stage for our audience to be aware of. As we all have seen, the economic uncertainty has had a significant impact worldwide on all companies. Speaking specifically about professional service organizations, they must factor in the impact not only on their own company, but recognize the changes that their customers are going through as well. The underlying conditions of pressures and challenges they face, from volatility in demand, increased by competition and changing customer demands, is very significant, and a critical factor by uncertainty is the question of, as it relates to professional services, fixed price versus time and materials. Our webinar panel is going to jump in and examine the pressures that professional service organizations are under, the actions they're taking to address these pressures, and the capabilities and investments they have in place to facilitate those actions using a job costing and estimating solution. As a backdrop to that, Aberdeen research indicates that best-in-class companies, demonstrate superior performance when supported by their capability advantages and their continued investment in technology. As it relates to professional service organizations, the following slide is going to give you some performance metrics for the best-in-class that I just described. You'll see that they are 47% more likely to be projects on time, and then 44% projects, delivered within budget, significantly higher than the competition. Best in class being the top 20%, and the competition, the remaining 80%. So again, the top 20% really, they set the mark here. And then when it gets to productivity, they're 3.5x greater than all others. And when it gets to profitability, they're 4.7x greater. So the numbers are significant, and that's really the reason that we like to look at what the best-in-class companies are doing in terms of how they perform, and it certainly indicates that it's worth watching. As we start the discussion, we would also mention that best-in-class companies value project or job costing and estimating as the number 2 solution that they prioritize. And they're 47% more likely to have this in place versus the competition. And this is at a 70% adoption level, which is 23 points higher than all others. So with that thought in mind, project cost estimating is highly valued by professional service companies. And in speaking with Nate from SAP, this was high on SAP's list as a priority to add into their solution through their partnership with Twenty5. So Nate, for our audience, if you would mind taking a few minutes to discuss the SAP Partner Program as a way to grow SAP's influence, and in particular, the value that SAP found in partnering with Twenty5. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brian. Really, I want to cover 3 specific areas here. First, we're going to talk about the SAP ecosystem. The second, we're going to talk about our Industry Cloud Partner Program. And then last, we'll touch on why we chose Twenty5 to be a part of this program. First off, SAP's ecosystem. We have thousands of partners globally that help implement, service, and consult our SAP clients. So among those are ISVs and other types of partners, but we cover everything end to end. There are times though where we need to lean on our partners to build add-ons. So what we're doing is we're looking through an industry lens and we're finding the best partners to work with. Much like Apple has with their App Store, SAP has its own app stores. You think of an iPhone, everything's built on iOS. Well, in SAP, everything's built on top of HANA. Twenty5 has built their whole product on top of our database. So what that does is it gives us a seamless integration between the two systems. Now let's talk about the Industry Cloud Partner Program. The reason why we decided to start the Industry Cloud Partner Program was because we realized and we identified that some organizations have more complex requirements than standard out-of-the-box offerings. So what we do is we use these industry cloud solutions and layer them on top of an existing ERP. So ultimately what we're doing is we're ensuring that we're bringing our clients curated, agile innovation in an easy and integrated way. These partners, especially our industry cloud partners, have deep-rooted industry experience. And Magnus and Richard come with 10, 20, 30 plus years of experience, who knows, combined. And that's why we're choosing to partner with these guys. And then last, that leads us right into why Twenty5. We heard a common theme from our clients. They need a way to submit bids faster with more confidence to be able to close the loop between bidding and executing projects. And we know that 80% of margin is determined within the RFP stage. So with that much margin, it's critical for all of our clients to have a robust tool for bidding and proposal management. So again, we're on a common database infrastructure, which all that means is it allows a seamless out-of-the-box integration between Twenty5 and SAP. That's easy to maintain and it's low to no cost to integrate. It's a quick time to value. It can be as little as 6 weeks to get you live, and some other projects can take 6 months depending on complexity of requirements. So we have happy clients, and one of which you're going to hear from here in a minute. So that's the story behind SAP's partners, our ecosystem, and why we ultimately chose to partner with Twenty5. Hopefully that sheds some insight and some light on why we're here.
Okay, thanks, Nate. Appreciate the insights and how you work with your partners. Good to hear. I'm going to now turn to one of Twenty5's customer, Delaware Consulting, and we're going to hear from Wynn in just a moment and hear about their journey with Twenty5. And as a quick data point, we find that best in class, again, referring to our research, are 25% more likely, to have the ability to manage fixed price contracts and have that in place. And so when, just maybe as a preamble, is this the kind of issue that you found helpful in working with Twenty5, or any other significant advantages that you picked up? But would ask if you could please introduce Delaware and then share your story to give our audience a sense of the challenges you faced, perhaps where you started versus where your organization is now as a result of working with Twenty5. And I'll give it up to you. Go ahead, Wynn.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here today. And Nate, thank you for your comments as well. Just a little bit about Delaware. So Delaware is a global consultancy. We're focused really around SAP S/4 transformations that really drive business outcomes. We cover really all the major geographic regions in the world with over 3,000 consultants to date. We've grown rapidly over the years, significant growth across the globe year on year. Our tagline as Delaware is that we commit and we deliver. So meeting our commitment is really a core value statement of Delaware. From my background perspective, I've been running consulting businesses or selling the SAP software, working in the SAP ecosystem or directly with SAP for over 25 years. And while time and materials contracts have been the norm of the past, we're increasingly seeing requests coming in for firm fixed price kinds of contracts or even risk share contracts. We're seeing that happen more and more. And kind of combined with some of the research that was referred to earlier, the project cost estimating side is incredibly important to meeting our commitments, as I said earlier, and to making sure we deliver the right outcomes and doing so profitably. I think Nate's comment and some of the research has been pointing out about getting it right out of the gate is really, really important. So what we've seen and realized as we've partnered and worked with Twenty5 is that this has helped us meet this new compelling business need. In the past, we would deal with multiple spreadsheets, multiple SharePoint files, as we would prepare a response for a bid. And in doing so, a lot of times reinventing the wheel, a lot of times not learning from maybe the past, especially when you consider a global organization. So with Twenty5, we say we need to address this business requirement and market requirement with a new tool set that really brings to bear some of the new technologies that allow us to address this market need. So we needed to move our project cost estimating and proposal pricing into really an enterprise grade type of solution versus a spreadsheet on somebody's computer or a SharePoint file. So this is what really started us on this journey with Twenty5. And we've seen great results out of this, where we're able to have really one record of the truth, a cloud-based solution. Implementing the solution was really easy, and working together with Twenty5, we've really partnered well with them to be able to take this technology and apply it to our business requirements, and then also to take it and apply learnings as we move and adapt to the marketplace. It really helps us take more of a formal approach in managing our bid process, how we approach any risk management associated with that, how we do approvals around our bid process. And we're really looking at further and taking this into even historical learnings in the future. And Twenty5 solution really gives us that technology foundation to be able to do that. Thank you very much for offering this time for us to come in and talk to the audience.
Well, Wen, thank you. It's a great story, and again, congratulations on your success. Particularly, I know our end users, they all want to hear, how someone else has done it, and so I'm sure this is going to play very well in what they heard from you. So, with what we've heard already, certainly about Twenty5, I think it's time to hear from them and their successful solution and how they've been able to craft and answer the problems that they plague job costing and estimating. And Richard, I'll turn it over to you. Take it away.
Yeah, hi, this is Richard. I'm with Magnus. Magnus and I predicted the shift towards fixed price and outcome-based engagements, mentioned by Win and by Nate and by Brian as well. And we saw a gap in the market, with most companies in professional services using Excel or using custom homegrown solutions for project cost estimating and pricing. At the same time, new technology for data-intensive applications like project cost estimating, which is data-intensive, in particular, SAP's in-memory HANA database has been recently coupled with advances in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Essentially, there's no way we could have developed the solution that we built using technology from 10 years ago. That's why we developed the tool now, to benefit from the new technology and the market need to move towards outcome-based engagements. So what did we build? We basically built a best-in-class project knowledge base. It's a knowledge base of all your project history and productized service offerings in a web application. So during the initial scope development, when you're responding to a bid and you're developing the scope based on the RFP requirements, you'll have the information at your fingertips to leverage all your history built up in this knowledge base so you can focus on adjusting it rather than rebuilding it from scratch. Essentially, we facilitate the reuse of prior work. Could be anywhere in the world, proposal and project structures, estimates, formulas, cost estimating relationships. We leverage your rich history built up over time from timesheets, booked to projects, or from purchase orders or production parts. Any information you have in your SAP or other system, we can leverage. And you can use that to estimate the resources, the parts, and the equipment needed to deliver a project with multi-currency rates, workflow approvals, and a variety of estimating methods, such as the parametric or sizing models or cost estimating relationships. Let's have a sneak peek at the solution. If Magnus, if you can drop in and give a quick demo, that'd be very appreciated.
So when we build out this scope, the first thing we can do is we have the ability to reuse information. We can use prior templates or best practices that we have, or we can reuse from prior proposals that we have used in the past. And when we bring that information in, we'll bring the breakdown of the work that is needed. We'll bring in things like the deliverables to the customer, and we can then also create billing milestones and so on and so forth. As part of this breakdown of work, we can then create estimates as part of how to actually estimate and break down this work. And in this case, just looking at labor estimating, we have the ability to pick which are the type of resources that I'm going to use, and then plan those resources out depending on how many that I need per period, right? So I can choose these. I can, just like in Excel, I can update these resources as your planning sheet, so to speak, and I can save and update this. And behind the scenes here, there's a lot of information that's being captured. So you see that I have companies and departments and so on and so forth. Those have specific work schedules and work calendars factored in. So if I'm estimating based on full-time equivalents, I know exactly how many hours that equates to. I also have my resources that connect to my rates. So I can have both standard, cost rates and billing rates that I use. And that I can then tweak those rates, especially the billing rates, for any given proposal that I like to do. And if I want to look at the results of this, I have the ability to slice and dice this information basically however I like. So I can look at this from different types of currencies. I can see, I want to look at my company currency, my local currency, or maybe the source currency that was used. I can choose the different dimensions that I want to break down the cost based on. So maybe I want to look at this based on site. Maybe I want to break it down based on cost element. I already have a cost element there. And I can apply this, and I can see how my cost is getting spread out. And maybe I also want to change, and instead of breaking it down by currency like this, maybe I want to look at this more based on a time horizon perspective and see, I'm going to look at this based on my calendar year and my calendar quarter. And I can apply this and look at this information in any way which I want. And once I've completed it, I can then finally send this over to SAP. So I can push all this information into SAP when I'm happy with it, and it can be used as my baseline for my proposal. But there's one more step which is obviously important, and that is, as I've captured all my costs, I have the ability to also price these different items. And I can have different pricing strategies that I pick. So in this case, I can use a fixed price with T&M rates. And what that really means is it's factoring in all my labor cost at my cost rate and all my labor based on my billing rates. And I can then tweak it as I see fit. I can apply, maybe I want to have a 15% contingency applied and maybe put a 2% discount on this. And I can confirm this. So very flexible. So I can go from developing my scope, estimating my resources, analyzing my cost, and then finally do create billing plans based on these. So if I've now created my cost, I can now say, well, how am I actually going to bill the customers? I can simulate the billing, and I can say that I'm going to bill on the 15th of every month, and I can say that I want to distribute my billing based on a specific curve. So I can distribute it either based on the curve of the cost, or I can distribute it on any other type of curve that I like. And I can create now my billing milestone based on my cost curve. And I can save this, and then I have the ability to look at what does this do for my cash flow. So now I can see that as part of my overall picture, here's how my costs are coming in, and here's how my revenue is coming in, and I can see how overall profitable my project is going to be. I can apply net present value discounts and cost of capitals and all the rest of it to figure out the overall health of this program. And there's obviously a lot more to this, but hopefully you got a little sneak peek what we do. There's other areas such as risk management that we do as well, and we also have a big capability around also doing material costing, so not just labor costing. But if you'd like to hear more about what we do, I'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with you. And so please reach out to Richard or myself, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Over to you.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Magnus. That was great, and it's great to hear about your solution and how you guys have delivered, such a great application that directly applies to the needs of your customers. When, as an example, at Delaware Consulting. For now, it looks like we've got a few questions coming from the audience. So, Nate, the first question goes to you. Why are companies moving to 25 versus continuing with their current tools or processes? And why are people choosing 25 to work with versus other tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things there that we can talk about. The first is, though, why are people choosing 25? I think an organization typically reaches a tipping point when it comes to handling proposals, and they can only get so far inside of Excel. And I think that's the main thing that we've seen, is that when you start to have to manage hundreds of proposals on a monthly basis and you need to churn them out, you either have to grow headcount or you need to find a tool that's going to automate some of that for you. And so instead of adding headcount and adding costs to the bottom line, companies are just deciding, let's try to figure out a way to automate this. And that's what 25 does. So that's the first reason. I think the other is that we talk about time, right? And how long it takes for these bids to get answered. And the typical RFP can take 2 weeks to a month to respond to. Well, companies, in Delaware can probably attest to this. Companies are able to cut that time down to 3 days. With using 25, because you can take past historical data and you can create new bids and proposals based off of that data. So I think as the shift turns to data-centric companies and using a lot more AI and machine learning, it makes perfect sense for companies to be looking at 25 when it comes to automating this process, because it's ultimately saving them a ton of time in the RFP response phase. It's saving them money because they're able to bid with confidence, knowing that the bid that they're giving, it's not an underbid or it's not an overbid, and they have a pretty good chance of winning the business. And if they do win it, they know their margin is going to be pretty rich. So that's why through our lens, folks continue to talk to 25 and are very interested in the solution. And then I think last, it's a cloud-based solution. It's very low maintenance from a cost of ownership perspective. It's licensed on a SaaS model, but you don't need developers sitting in house to work on this application. It's all cloud-based. So I think those are the main reasons that we've seen.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. I think it's valuable for everyone to hear, where you see the cloud being used, and then also an eye to the future on things that may be coming. So Magnus, I'm going to turn the second one over to you. The comment is, we don't just sell services, we sell infrastructure and software licenses and products. And I guess the question really is does the solution covering material or hardware estimating as well as subscription-based pricing?
Yeah, thank you for that question, actually. So it's very true. So as much as this audience is quite service-oriented, our solution is as much tailored towards the hardware estimating. So we do everything from working with companies that build large, products. So they have built some materials, and the source of that data is really sitting in PLM tools or maybe in SAP, and they import those bills of materials, and we can automatically cost those bills of materials based on, referring and integrating with SAP for purchase order history and production order history and vendor quotes and you name it. So we have a very, very rich capability there. And it can be anything from companies that are building products themselves to companies just as part of delivering projects, they need to buy a lot of stuff. So there's I think, there's a continuum there where some companies are very hardware focused, some are very, very services focused, but there's a lot of companies that are kind of living in that middle where they do a lot of services, but as part of every project, they also have to buy a bunch of stuff that they deliver to their customers. So we can handle the full spectrum.
Okay, great. Richard, I think this one would probably go to you. The question is, we often submit global bids, and one of our challenges is orchestrating all the resources and coordinating and summarizing all the different local in-country project plans together across multiple versions and negotiation cycles. Can this tool help with that one?
Yes, of course. So you can have multiple estimates within a single proposal or project cost estimate. Obviously, you can have one person do the estimate, but you can also send the estimate out to lots of different people in different countries. For example, your offshore team in India or China might have their own estimate. Those can use local resources with local rates, with local currencies, local calendars, local holidays, when you're calculating effort out of duration and full-time equivalents. And obviously the currencies are all converted. You can freeze the exchange rates, you can buffer the exchange rates, you can sync the exchange rates to SAP or to other exchange rate tools. I think there was a question about versions. So as you go through the proposal, you can absolutely create versions. As you make changes, especially once submitted with the workflow, there's a full workflow approval engine built in, both for the estimate and the proposal. And at any stage of that workflow or any stage, you can create versions and do version comparisons. So it certainly can help with that. It's actually very useful. Global organizations are the ideal customer because they have this need.
Richard, it's all very well coming up with a great estimate, but what about the project delivery? We often need to rescope the project or recalculate the estimate to complete during the project delivery. Does Twenty5 help with that?
Yes and no. So first of all, there's great project execution tools in SAP. SAP has a project management module and has two add-on tools, CPM, which is commercial project management, and PPM, which is project and portfolio management, both of which we've linked up with and teamed up with for us to deliver the estimate and the initial baseline, and SAP to deliver the ongoing, including change management and scope control, and obviously estimate to complete. There are also other project management tools, but watch this space because we are working on project delivery, execution, estimate to complete, scope management, and change management, just as we've already developed tools for risk management during project execution. We're doing this work in discussion with SAP, and in the near future, we'll certainly be able to share more news about our project delivery and project execution features.
Sounds good, and thanks for that answer. That was pretty complete, I think. When I think the last one is directed to you, and not surprising, actually. Our users, at least one of them, is very interested in, the ease of implementation and time to value, and wondered if you could comment on that or expand upon that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. The ease of implementation actually being a cloud-based solution made really kicking it off and implementing it very easy. And we've got a very deep and long-standing partnership with Twenty5 and have worked very closely with them in putting this in initially and utilizing it. And then, as I said, it's a platform for growth for us. So as far as adoption of this technology, very easy. Setup of this technology, very easy. Probably the only challenge that we've seen is just kind of the change management, which you see on all projects, getting used to a new tool. Although the technology is easy, people kind of get set in their ways. So changing around that has probably been the most challenging item. I do also want to pick up on what Nate said earlier. The value that we see in this tool, and I think for most people, will be being able to capture the expertise within an organization. All organizations have the experts that you go to when you have a large bid or a significant question. What if those experts are not available? How do you capture that head knowledge and actually automate that? And that's what we see as value in this tool. So very pleased with what we're seeing so far. And as I said, we're just beginning that journey in our tight partnership with Twenty5.
Thanks, Wynn. Really appreciate that, and I'm sure the listeners do as well. That's about all we have on time. First of all, I'd like to thank our panel. Really appreciate the on-point discussion and talking through this and the value of Twenty5 both to Nate, Wen, Magnus, and Richard. And then also to our listeners, we appreciate your attendance. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dave, our moderator. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you.
And with that, we will conclude our video panel discussion today. I want to thank our speakers for sharing their research, insights, and recommendations with us. Special thanks to Twenty5 for making this webinar possible. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out using the contact information provided. Thank you and have a great day.